Open the podcast door, Scott.
I'm sorry, John. I can't do that. On the podcast known as
Trapped Under Plastic, the only podcast that prompts viewers to make essentially meaningless comments to boost the creator's self-esteem. And it succeeds.
Ha! Got you, dear viewer. Dude, it's cold outside. What's going on?
Dude, yeah, I walked the dog this morning and it was 46 degrees Fahrenheit.
Same. Yeah, strangely, also 46 over here. But yeah, it's cold. It's cold.
I got my winter socks on. I know it's time for Minnesota season when I put the wool socks on for the first time, and they don't come off again until roughly May.
Yes, yes. Same for me, but slippers. I got the slippers rocking right now.
Oh, you're a house slippers kind of guy?
Absolutely, yes.
I have a nice pair of those moccasins, inside slipper moccasins, and I love them. The only downside is I can wear them down here in the studio, but as soon as I get out of the basement, the combo wool sock plus wool-lined moccasin makes me sweaty piggies. That's for sure.
Dude, I hate sweaty feet inside thick-ass socks. It does not feel nice.
It's so fucking miserable. Oh, man. We got so much to talk about today, Scott. It feels like we just had an episode, but that's okay because we've got so much things to discuss today. That's how podcasting works, I am told. So.
Generally, yes. You went to Nova, did you not?
I did. I went to Nova. I was there Wednesday through Sunday, and so much in a 4-day span. I think that's 4 days. 5 days. 5-day span. I will say I wasn't at Nova last year, 2024, but I was at 2023, and it's a noticeable difference in just 2 small years. Still at the same location in downtown DC, and I think it's safe to say that they are bursting at the seams, kind of like what Adepticon was back at the Schaumburg. And it's a lot of energy, a lot of people, a lot of milling. Definitely felt like more people there, but it still is not as like overwhelming as Adepticon. It still has that chill factor. It still has it's got a lot of nice, like, cozy, chill places, right?
Okay,
like a lot of fun stuff. There's an awesome outside courtyard, and the weather was gorgeous. One night, Bob Cahoon put on a painting trivia contest, and we probably had 40-ish people that competed. I had an app all set up and all these questions, and I had to pee so bad. So I'm like, I got to go pee before this starts. And when I came back, the instructions to start had already been said, and I didn't get in. So what I did was, Vince says, "Come on, we're gonna team up on this." So he and I were him.
You cheated.
Yeah, we cheated 100%. We put our brains together, and out of all the competitors, we ended up in second place. So.
Ooh, okay. Can you give me like one question that came through as an example?
They were all multiple choice, so I can't remember what the options were, but like of all the following artists, which does not have an Art of Book by Dave Taylor? That's an example, right? There were questions about, gosh, now I'm blanking now that you say it, but there was some stuff that was GW related, a lot of stuff about color compositions, like what is the color scheme that is Y in shape, where it's one color and then 2 that are opposite and then create the Y shape.
Yeah, split complementary.
Yep. What was the name of the Games Workshop game made by Milton Bradley in 1991 that featured units of units?
Hero Quest?
No, Battle Masters is the answer.
Damn.
Because, first of all, Hero Quest came out in 1987. Second of all, Battle Masters, the key word in the question was units. Battle Masters used units. Yeah. So we got that one right. And actually, we were in first place. So he gave points updates and after each third of the questions, and we were in first. And then we slipped at the end and got like 2 of the last 3 wrong when we had only gotten maybe 1 or 2 wrong the entire time leading up. They were tough, tricky ones where you kind of took a shot in the dark, but it was a lot of fun. They had so many prizes because he just like went around to booths and stuff and supporters and asked, because he like did this ad hoc, wasn't an official thing. It was all like word of mouth. It was like this, like word on the street is there's a trivia, whatever. And there were so many people. It was so fun. And
that's awesome.
Like like so many people got prizes. They had so many prizes that at the end, it was like, if you didn't get a prize, come up and get a prize. And it was like Artis Opus brushes, Game Envy lights, models. Like it was
real prizes,
like real prizes, model holder, like miniature painting handles, like all sorts of shit. It was amazing. So, props. I don't know if Bob listens to the podcast, or if you know Bob Cahoon, first of all, follow him on Instagram, amazing painter. But thanks, Bob. I thanked him there, but really, really good time. I got more quick stories from Nova I want to share, but that's kind of my overarching amazing time. Great friends, great food. Didn't have a bad meal the entire time. So
that's awesome. I didn't go to a con, but I had a friend staying over on the weekend who, I don't know if any of you guys out there are listening to the podcast, or if you, John, have a hobby friend like this, but I have a friend who very enthusiastic, very charismatic person, loves the hobby, but like does not identify at all with the creative portion of the hobby. Like he's just bad at it. Like he just has very poor dexterity. Like he can't even like self-admittedly assemble the figures, but he wants to play so badly. And so whenever he comes over, this guy was featured in a video where I painted my novitiate kill team squad, and I met him at a cabin, and we played kill team at a cabin. Same guy, but he came over, and he was so hyped on Shatterpoint. He wanted to play Shatterpoint, and like all of my gaming stuff is like still in boxes, and like I packed so poorly, and so it's kind of like spread around and stuff. But he was so enthusiastic that he was like taking a freaking box cutter and like opening up boxes to find like the terrain and shit. And I don't have enough Shatterpoint terrain assembled because the Star set doesn't really come with that much. And so like we found the kits that I hadn't assembled already. We started, I started assembling like his team, like my terrain. And we made a frozen pizza, and it was very, it was very classic. It was very classic, like my college era, like hobby night, hanging out with this particular guy. I did all the hobby work because he's fucking useless when it comes to assembling or doing any kind of stuff.
But man, I got two comments on that. Number one, frozen pizza is the only acceptable answer of what do we eat
of course,
while we're doing this. And number two, I just picture him as Wreck-It Ralph from the movie trying to assemble models.
Yeah.
Just like big old ham hands over here. Can't control the glue.
That is exactly, you're exactly right. He's like the nicest dude ever. So like you can't be like mad at him about anything. But man, he tried to assemble some Mandalorians that had like a big chain gun, and it was one of those classic parts that has like 3 connection points, and you need to make sure they all line up well. So admittedly difficult to put together, but like he just broke it. You set it down and then it all fell apart, and I was like, how did it fall apart? Like, are you not using glue? And also, what makes it worse is he refuses to read the instructions. He just wants
God.
So I almost don't want him assembling the models. No. But we got to play some Shatterpoint, and it reminded me about how awesome that game is and like how much I really enjoy it. It's such a solid game, and I love Star Wars so much. So it's a great combination of like all those things together. And it was a good time playing a miniature war game. First one in a long time.
I really need to paint either that or some MCP or both, because the scale really kind of speaks to me too. They're just big enough where you can have more fun as a painter and really explore some volumes and some textures and stuff, and that speaks to me. I can't believe I haven't yet. But I'm definitely going to, especially because on the plane ride out to DC, I watched for the first time Deadpool and Wolverine.
Nice.
And so I got this extra like comic book juices running through my veins right now.
Yes.
I got to see Channing Tatum as Gambit, and now my life is complete.
Got to see Blaze saying there will only ever be one Blade.
I'm so removed from, I didn't want to spoil anything in that movie. I knew Channing Tatum was in it. I had no idea Wesley Snipes was in that movie.
Yeah,
I had no idea Blade was in that movie. So when that happened, I'm just like gripping my chair. I'm like, holy shit, that's really Wesley Snipes.
Yeah, dude, it really is.
Yeah, he's got to get that money after the IRS took all of his back taxes back. He's got to get paid.
Wait, did Wesley not pay his taxes?
No, he didn't pay his tax. He like like famously didn't pay his taxes during like a 10-year period when he was big in Hollywood, and he owed the IRS something like $20 million, and he lost everything.
Oh,
he lost
no,
everything.
Wesley.
Yeah, poor
That sucks.
Poor Wes. Yeah, so I was sad about DC that I didn't get to see one of the things I was most excited to see, and that is DC Rats. I cannot tell you how exciting it is to see a rat the size of a fucking squirrel just wandering around eating garbage. Okay. And I got to see so many of them my first year. I didn't see a single rat this year. I was so bummed. But I did not go out at night actively looking for them. I didn't go walking through alleys like I did 2 years ago. But I was told by many people that was not a smart move, just in general for my own safety. So I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. I'm a small town Midwestern guy. I'm just like, I may be a little bit oblivious to such things. But what I did see a different kind of wildlife in DC that we don't have here in Minnesota. Ginger Jesus and I went to a Pizza by the Slice place where the pizza slice is about the size of a regular pizza. Great pizza.
Yes.
Floppy New York style pizza was amazing. And while we're standing there waiting for him to get our slices, I saw a cockroach the size of a shoe.
Mutant cockroach.
It walked across the floor, like came from behind, like it was going to go out on a delivery and deliver some pizzas. Walked from behind the counter, walked towards me. I thought it was a beetle. I didn't think it was a cockroach. I'm like, wow, what kind of big beetles do they have here? And Drew was like, I don't think that's a beetle. And it got dangerously close to my shoe, so I flicked it. I flicked it with my shoe. It fell onto its back, and then I could tell immediately with its long antennae. I was like, oh, shit, that's a cockroach. And he's like, yeah, that's a cockroach.
God damn.
I was like, I want to have a conversation with this guy, Joe's Apartment style. Hold up. Who gets that reference? No goody peepees know the Joe's Apartment reference.
Definitely not me.
It's a movie. Check it out.
Joe's Apartment style?
Just Joe's Apartment.
Oh, man. Oh, wow. Look at this. It's a comedy musical?
Yeah. With singing cockroaches. It's a goodie. It's a goodie. It's definitely worthy of your list. You have classes at Meepolathon here. Did you learn?
Yeah. So, I mentioned last time Meepolathon briefly, but I want to talk about it a little bit more. So I'm going to be at a con, essentially, called Meepolathon. It is an event that is 100% charity. Every penny goes to their beneficiaries outside of ones that cover their operating expenses. And I'll be there teaching 2 classes, and I'll also have a booth, which is the first time for me. Me and Amber are excited to test out, having a booth and if that's financially worth it, what the experience is like, and doing it at a little bit of a smaller event, just to see what it feels like. And the 2 classes I'll be teaching, which I'll have linked below if you want to sign up for them, are a beginner's guide to NMM and also a class about layering and how important that skill is. It's funny, the NMM class, I had a breakthrough, kind of not really like a breakthrough, but kind of a breakthrough in my head.
Okay.
We were in New York City and we were having dinner, and I don't want to totally spoil it because I want to save it for the class and also for a video at some point. But I was just sitting there and I had something shining in my eye, and immediately it struck me how a particular object is an amazing example about how to think about NMM. And so I want to talk about that. I want to have this physical thing set up in the class so students can come up and look at it, rotate around it, get this idea of what I'm talking about. And I think it's going to be a really fun NMM class. I'm not going to get too deep into the whole physicality of light and how it works and stuff like that, because I think the example is so strong that it doesn't need an explanation really. So those 2 classes I'm doing, but more about Meepolathon. One of their beneficiaries is a Turning Point, which is a local beneficiary. They're helping out families in the area, making sure they have food and shelter and stuff to survive. And also, they have a big paint competition called the Lavender Brush, which is put on in honor of Michelle Farnsworth, who, if you know, passed from cancer. So lovely shout out to them about the Lavender Brush. The event is November 14th to the 16th. And it does a lot more than just miniature painting. It also does RPGs, card games, tabletop like board games, like all kinds of stuff. It's like a lot of great geek stuff. So check it out. We'll link it below along with my classes.
Awesome. Did you say where it's located? It's St. Louis, isn't it?
Yeah, Kansas City, I believe. Yeah.
Kansas City?
Uh-huh.
Okay, you can hit up a Taylor Swift football game when you're down there.
Right, yeah. They got married, don't you know? Or engaged.
Engaged, yes. I one thing, going back to my Nova stuff, because I got more Nova stuff to say. Mm-hmm. I brought samples. I printed out samples of the deck of many colors, and yes. I handed them out to people whether they wanted them or not. I got a lot. I had a fanny pack all weekend with cards. And
seriously, you had a fanny pack?
Yeah,
I love that. Yes, I love that.
It's the best way to carry things. You know
Kinda, yeah.
It's great. I had to pack really light for Nova because my display case where I brought my competition pieces was my like carry-on item, which is usually where I'd carry stuff. So I don't check bags because fuck that noise. So I just had my one carry-on suitcase, which was filled mostly with all the stuff for my classes to teach, all the models and all the painting stuff and whatever. So I had like one pair of underwear, 3 t-shirts, a pair of socks. Like I had to go into the con knowing I had to buy more t-shirts at the con to make it through the end of the con.
Damn. Oh, what a strategy.
Yeah, there was strats. Elite strats were taking place. Speaking of the international, but I wanted to I wanted to say that I had great responses. Thank you to everyone that went out and pre-ordered the deck of many colors. The responses was overwhelming. It was been amazing. People really like them in person. I've got a samples for you, Scott. So the next time I see it in person, I think I'm coming up for the Spider-Man Magic release in a couple weeks. So I'll either get them to you directly or I'll give them to Dan. So when you guys play Star Wars RPG, you'll get them. But
cool.
Really, really cool stuff. And then there's a lot of work on working with artists, identifying artists, finalizing all the artwork. I had a meeting already this morning before this, and we're recording at 9 a.m. So I had a meeting at 8 a.m. this morning with the artist that did all the border work to do the design for my final box. So
nice.
That whole thing is going to be really exciting and sexy, and she's so goddamn good. I'm so excited to see what she does.
Nice.
Back to Nova, I made my annual pilgrimage just about every morning, half a mile walk each way to the Krispy Kreme.
Every morning?
Every morning, I went to Krispy Kreme because they have a special going on right now, Harry Potter Krispy Kreme donuts.
Ooh.
They have one for each house, and they also had the Sorting Hat donut that is filled inside with a mystery color of cream filling, and when you take a bite into it, you see which house you fall into. You know what I'm saying? You don't know. Are you Hufflepuff? Are you Ravenclaw? Scott, can you guess which house I was?
I mean, if you didn't get Slytherin, I don't want you to come home, you know? Just stay in D.C.
I was going to keep buying the donut until I got to it. But very first one, boom, Slytherin. Meant to be. The universe knows a bad guy when it sees one, and that was me. Overall, just a standard glazed with a chocolate frosting Krispy Kreme is GOAT tier. After trying all the flavors of the Harry Potter ones, I will say, if you're going to go and you don't want to buy them all, the best one is the Hufflepuff donut. The Hufflepuff donut is a filled donut with a butterbeer creamy custard, and that tasted like butterscotch heaven, baby.
Damn,
on the
dude.
inside. It was so goddamn good.
Them damn
Hufflepuffs know how to eat. I should have known. That's my food review for you Krispy Kreme lovers. I also picked up the hats, the Krispy Kreme hats. Vince wore his. I gave one to him because Vince wouldn't actually go to Krispy Kreme. That's outside of his purview.
What? Hold on. This needs further explaining. Is that it's too far of a walk?
No, he just is. He feels himself like too high and mighty to lower himself to one of the best foods on planet Earth, the Krispy Kreme donut. And he's like, "Well, I don't eat those kinds of foods." Meh. Whatever.
So we got the hat instead.
You got the hat, and he wore the hat the entire convention, as is tradition.
Nice.
So that.
Okay.
Foam.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know when to break you off here on your Nova stories.
No, it's okay.
But I got some of I'm starting to set up my my painting area, and so I got some brick texture on the wall, and I want a way to hide the seams in the corner. So a cool feature of this new house that I'm living in is that it has like kind of like a half turret like in it. So it's a feature that runs from the basement all the way to the second floor, which is an octagon shaped thing.
Yeah.
And I'm using the octagon as the backdrop, and so it's got these interesting like 135 degree like angles, and these like brick texture sheets don't really mesh super well, and so I want to hide the seam in the corner with like a decorative brick. And so I got some foam, and I got some spray adhesive, and I glued together a couple of layers. I cut out a template out of like MDF, and I use the hot wire cutter to cut out some foam that'll like look like a faux brick that like will hide the seam and look fun and decorative and kind of give the backdrop a medieval vibe, along with a few other things that I'm doing.
Sweet.
So that was a lot of fun. But it's difficult though, because like with a hot wire cutter, like the issue is that you have tension you have to deal with in the wire. And so say my template's on the bottom or the top, wherever, you often get like an angled cut because the wire is like you're having to pull the wire into tension to cut it through. And so I figured out the best way to cut with a hot wire while still pulling it and getting that tension was to just pull it so that like the bend is cutting with the direction that you want to go in. So it's still straight up and down, but it's not like cutting into your brick stuff. And, it looks a little jank, but it's okay. I'm going to like battle damage the bricks, and it's not going to matter at all.
That texture. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm also going to like, you saw those like the brick sheets on the wall in the old studio, right? I'm going to cut out a few more bricks that are the same silhouette as the sheet, and I'll pop them on the wall to give some like diversity. So like some are further out than the other ones.
Dimension, yeah.
Exactly. So you can see some light cast on the wall in the background and stuff like that. So I'm excited. I'm gonna put some fake moss and shit and like all that stuff. It's gonna be fun.
In my head, as I'm picturing you doing bricks out of foam for your real world wall, I just picture you have one of those Green Stuff World like texture rollers, but it's massive, and you're on the floor just pushing it on, rolling it over the top of the foam.
I didn't think about that, but I should have, honestly.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's gonna look so sick though. Yeah, I think you have such a fun shape to that part of your studio to like accentuate it instead of like trying to like work with it, like lean into it. I think that's going to look really cool. I really like the idea of adding depth and dimension. It's almost like you're building like a 3D backdrop, a Roman Lapat-esque, picture frame kind of backdrop to a miniature.
Yeah, kind of. Interesting.
That's kind of sweet. All right. A couple more things, fun stories, side notes of Nova. We played, as is tradition and as one should, we played quite a bit of games of Commander in the evening, met new friends, hung out with old friends, great memories were made. We did play one game that was probably the most exciting, most wild, coolest game of Commander I've ever played.
Okay.
Took place there. It was myself, Vincey V, Evan, and then one of Evan's friends. And I don't want to break down exactly how the game went, mostly because it was so wild, I cannot really explain it. Vince and I were laughing immediately afterwards, and we're like, that was the greatest game ever, and I couldn't explain it to somebody else why it was the greatest game ever. Awesome. At one point, I was going for the win, and both Vince and Evan, the fourth player, was playing a massive dinosaur deck, and he was a problem. He had like 8 giant dinosaurs out. I played an enchantment that says whenever a creature your opponent's control dies, it comes back. It's called Grave Betrayal. It comes back under my control with a +1/+1 counter. And so in the same turn, I killed every creature on the battlefield. So all their shit died, and it immediately all came back. So I was like, I now have the army of dinosaurs risen against their owner.
That's awesome.
And they were like, oh shit. So I'm going to win the game the next turn, basically. And there was a series of events where in Magic they have what's called a stack. When you play a spell, someone can play something in response to that spell, and that goes on the stack. And so it's kind of like you're stacking up cards, and whichever is the top card, which is the last card played in the stack, that gets resolved first. So you resolve in reverse order.
First in, first out.
Yes. Typically in a moderately complex situation, you get 3 or 4 cards on the stack. The stack in that moment for me to win the game was somewhere between 13 and 17 cards on the stack. And it was like the dinosaur man was just sitting there dejected. But I'm like, don't worry. I need you to live because I only get to keep your dinosaurs while you're still in the game. So if he dies, then all the dinosaurs are gone. And so I then became his caretaker while the other 2 were like, the only way to kill John is to first kill you. And so a series of events of so many cards on the stack. And I'm like, guys, we need to not put the cards in front of us. We need to physically make the stack because it's too complex. Too much shit's happening. Long story short, when it was 2v1 and they were both against me, I fell short and Vince immediately won on his turn. So it was an amazing game.
That is hilarious.
It was so good. Real quickly, what did I buy? I bought a shirt. I bought a Trench Crusade shirt. I don't have it down here. It's in the wash right now, but they all get them locally screen printed, and they're just like badass, gnarly screen prints that are, I believe, they're the carved printings. So that was awesome. I also bought my very first Neko Galaxy bust.
Ooh,
It's called The Reaper. And Jack the Reaper. Now, buy the box art. I'm going to tell you right now, and I told this guy too.
Fucking what the hell, dude?
The box art is Sag. But the model itself looks something that you would appreciate. He looks like he's something directly out of like Overwatch or Borderlands.
Yes.
Just this gnarly cyberpunk, big, beefy, square-jawed guy. And it was the last one he had in stock. And I'm like, oh, that baby is mine. So amazing looking model. And we can share an actual picture, not just my webcam version of it. And because the sculptor owner of Neko Galaxy, this was the last one, he had his own painted version of this guy out on display that he painted himself. And he's like, oh, since you bought it, I can take this upstairs for the competition. So he immediately pulled it off the blue tack, ran it upstairs, and entered it in Masters in bust, and got a silver medal with it. And well deserved. It was gorgeously painted.
Was it this one? I just linked it in the chat. Was it green?
Yes. Monochromatic green scheme. It looks like a Scott painting style. Really.
Dude, I love this model and also this paint job so much. The Overwatch vibe is incredibly accurate. That was a very good description of like what kind of character this is. Very cool. But yeah, that concept art, it's unique, I guess I'll say. Yeah,
it is super clean. It's super like the fades, the blends are just so super crispy on this. It seemed like something that you would like. I'm gonna put that link right now in the doc so Alex can do that.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. Also, hold on. I need to correct something. I said that Magic is first in, first out. That is incorrect. It is first in, first out. I thought it was first in, last out. So if you're, or whatever.
Last in, first out is the phrase, yes.
Sure, I think that means the same thing, right?
Yes.
First in, last out, and last in, first out, I think are the same thing. But either way, yeah.
They are. Correct.
I just needed to. I know someone in the comments is going to call me out, and I just need you to know that I know that I'm wrong. I'm sorry. Okay, moving on.
I did not hear that you said it correctly. That is my mistake. I should have caught that.
Yeah. No worries.
I'm the one that they should lambast, not you on that. I mean, the Magic player.
Sure.
What did I buy? And then the final thing I want to talk about is the mysterious case of the stolen palette sponge. So
what?
On Thursday, Vince had almost all of his classes and his only break in classes was one of my classes. So he taught, I taught, he taught. So we held the room on lockdown, the room for the entire day on Thursday.
Yeah, you just owned that room, yeah.
Right. Later. And so I'm cleaning up for my class, picking everything up, or whatever. Don't think anything of it, talking to students. Vince comes in, blah, blah, blah. The next day, Vince and I are checking out the vendor hall, and we're talking to our good buddy Kit from Game Envy. We're at the booth, and Vince is like, I hate to do this, Kit, because I just came to you the other day. Can I get more of those, another packet of palette sponges? I lost them. Somebody stole them out of the classroom. Okay, I had them in the classroom, and when I had my full day of classes, and they were gone. And I just sit there, nod my head, wait till he gets it. And Kit gets a nice guy, will give you whatever you need. He needed more palette paper or whatever for classes to help you out as teachers. Great guy. And as soon as he gave him the sponge, I said, Vince, I saw that sponge packet. I saw it was Game Envy sponge packet. I stole that. It was me.
You stole it, you bastard, dude.
I stole it. I'm like, I stole it. He's like, you son of a bitch. I walked all the way back out to my car. I checked. I was like, where did I put it? I took everything out from my classes suitcase. I was looking everywhere for those sponges. I thought for sure I placed them and forgot about them. I went back to the classroom and they weren't there. And I'm like, well, yeah, I'm going to take them. That was
you left them there, Vince. Come on, bro.
Right. Yeah. Losers weepers, my friend. So so this whole story of the mysterious case of the stolen sponges, and in a Scooby-Doo mystery style, the thief was there the whole time. Like, the whole story was laid out to Kit, and I didn't say a fucking word.
I know, you're just sitting there and you know exactly where they went.
Yeah, I know. I'm the criminal in this situation. And a good laugh was had by all, and I'm like, I'm not giving them back, Vince. They're mine now. They're mine now. So I also came home with more palette sponges,
Nice.
Which is good, because in my classes, somehow whenever I teach, paint gets random places. So my sponge is like half red right now. Just, when the paint gets in there, or especially ink, like leaks around the side, and the sponge just like soaks it all up.
Yeah.
And then that sponge is dyed forever. Still works fine. I'm gonna still let it go, but
right.
I got backups now. Stolen backups.
Stolen backups. Yeah. I know.
Oh man. We want to thank the TUP Partners, the amazing companies that we love their products, and they support us as well. The first one to talk about today is the Army Painter. You know them. You love them. They now have speed paint markers. I have used those in a recent video and was blown away how well you can paint a Tyranid with speed paint markers. Check them out. They are now on the market for the first time. Thank you, Army Painter.
Awesome. And also one of our partners is Redgrass Games, and we're calling to attention their R9 Solo, which you can pre-order right now. It did have a Kickstarter campaign, but it's available for pre-order on their website. I have the bigger cousin of the R9 Solo, and it is awesome. It's I love how they have a large attention put on the quality of the light, and it's very clear that they care a lot about that, which is great for painting. Check out the R9 Solo for a little bit cheaper, a little bit smaller, a little bit more portable option.
Check out the output. I have the light over my shoulder right now.
Oh yeah, it's just your key light right now for your head.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, nice. Great lights. Next up is Steamforged Games. Steamforged still has their Wave 2 of their P3 paints. Late backer is open now. You're going to make sure you go and check that out. They got some great deals. You can go all in, all the way from the original set plus the new stuff, just the new stuff. They've got their crazy pure metallics line that is just, my favorite metallics on the miniature market right now, and it's not particularly close. And they also have come out with spray cans, so you can get some priming done in specific colors as well.
And lastly, we want to shout out Corvus Belli, and specifically their Warcrow game. They got some sexy new elves called the Sienna. John's showing them off right now. And you know how I know these models are sexy? It's because I'm starting to see people paint Warcrow miniatures for competition. Like they're just taking them, putting them on little plinths and painting them like you would see with GW figures. I actually have never seen these What If models until right now. They're right in front of me, and they look pretty freaking awesome, not gonna lie.
Yeah, the the poses is so unique and so dynamic. They feel very much like wood elves, and so I loved painting one, and I might be doing more of that again soon. Thank you, TUP Partners.
On to the hobby update. So last time we had Malev here as a guest on the podcast. We did the whole volleyball playtest thing at the source, and to prepare for that, we had to make some miniatures. And he brought some War Games Atlantic, something Rome in the name. I can't remember, but they're essentially dudes in togas and adult diapers, and they're mostly, kind of like shirtless. And they were great generic figs. A blank canvas that you can kind of do anything with. And so there's actually enough arms that didn't have weapons in them to like not do any kind of conversion. And so we made 6 players, all weaponless, kind of like outdoor beach volleyball vibes. And we painted them up using Malev's approach for painting, which he lovingly calls contrastual bombastual, which I'm gonna get into later. It's such a fucking Malev thing too, like that kind of name. I'm gonna get into that in the after party, explaining what exactly that is and what I think about it. But these like the little naked dudes were perfect. We each painted up 3. I painted the red team, he painted the blue team. A lot of skin tones, so a lot of having to learn how Malev paints while also dealing with skin tones, which was not an issue at all. And yeah, it was a late night. We had done a bunch of like game development before then, started painting at like 2, and then painted well into the evening, and probably got done at like 9 or 9:30. So it was a little bit of a hustle to finish before the play testing time, but we got it all done.
Yeah. As for me, I was thinking when you were talking about the toga men, I was like, you know what those would be really good for as well? What if you did like a game of Don't Look Back, where it's like the murderers at the college fraternity, and these guys are all at pledge night, and they're like running around as a murderer comes and stabs these mostly naked dudes in their sheets.
Yeah, dude. That's classic.
Feels like a great game right there, honestly.
Yeah, I like that.
As for me, I have some things that I can't show you, not because I don't want to. Going back to Nova, I did a couple of things with Games Workshop. The first one was they had instead of having a preview night for new products and new models to showcase, that kind of just didn't happen. They just kind of had this like open night of jamboree and who knows things that were going on. They had like a paint and take. They had a trivia kind of a thing. They had some Q&A going on. But they also had Eric Swinson and I sitting over at the streaming desk painting new models. Models that were like about to be up for pre-order or up for pre-order. Excuse me. I painted some of the new Chaos. I painted one of the new Chaos Dwarves. And then he painted something from the new Kill Team box. The problem was, I couldn't show off the pictures of the model that I was painting on social media, or even they wouldn't have it on a TV screen so people at the event could see it because it was still under the NDA. So I painted a new little Chaos Dwarf in a couple of hours, and he was good. I will get some actual pictures that James can show here for that. And then on Sunday morning, I was on the official Games Workshop Warhammer Community Twitch channel where I was painting something. I painted Necron from the new Kill Team box. And the goal was that throughout the weekend, different artists would come and paint on the Warhammer Twitch stream. And then at the end, we'd have both or most of both of the kill teams painted, and they're going to collect them all and then have pictures showing the different artist style that pulled together a singular kill team. Mm-hmm. What they wanted was for us to start the painting process and then finish it at home and then mail it into them. They gave me 3 hours to paint. I can paint a Necron and NMM with wild underpainting in 3 hours, which is what I did. So mine's not going to look like anybody else's. They're all using the fucking runic steel and lead belcher, and mine is just a hot, colorful mess. And I was like, I'm here for this.
And they're also like going home and like painting it for like 10 hours or something like that. So it's nice and clean and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Mine is not that. But I didn't want to take it home and then have to mail it back. I'm like, I don't trust myself to get it back in time. So they took it home, and of course, like a dum-dum, I forgot to take a picture of it on my cell phone before I just gave it to Games Workshop. So I do not have any pictures. Maybe they will one day surface from Games Workshop, but I'm not going to hold my breath.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, and then the final thing is I did finish painting the King of Thule. I've got pictures up on Instagram as well of that. I entered that in the painting competition for Capital Palette. So that he was all done, and I'm pretty proud of him. So.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now on your Instagram post, and it looks great. I think from the time that I saw it last to seeing it now, obviously the thing that strikes me the most is the desaturated, darker side. But I think, I don't know, I'm really actually impressed by how consistent it is. Like, obviously you can just use the same paints, but it feels right. Like, I like how there's like this dark shadow in the middle of his forehead, and then it kind of becomes colder, and like then it like lights up again, but it's like a different color temperature and everything, and it's not as light as the other side of his forehead. And so like there are like bold lighting choices on this model, but like it's translating to a real world like outcome. Like nothing about the paint job is like, feels too wrong. Like maybe the dark side is a little bit too light, but like otherwise the placement, the shapes, everything, it just feels accurate. And I love that cold side.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a lot of learning and figuring out as I go, and I got some good feedback from the four horsemen as well. Vinci and Sam, yourself and Ben, all gave me some really good things to work on, and it was mostly just pushing that contrast and values, and making sure my darks were darker across while keeping that dark side shadow tone, as well as Eric Swinson did tell me the big boo-boo that I made for the color of the shadows showing the frame of the windows, that should be the same color as the cold side of the room. And when that happened, I was like, okay, I feel like we're on the right track. So it was really proud. I'm really, a lot of people gave me some really nice things to say that when they saw it in the case and could see it in person. So really enjoyed that process. I don't do a lot of busts, and I want to do more, and I'm going to do this Overwatch dude next, I think. So
nice. Do you want to talk about the competing, or should we share that for the topic?
Yeah, I think we can kind of weave that into the topic.
Okay, let's do that. All right, so on to our patron mini critique. As a patron of TUP, you get access to an extended episode where we talk about extra things like our favorite model that we've found from other painters in the last 2 weeks, something new we've tried out. And also, as a patron, you can submit models for us to give feedback on. So not only do you get access to an extended episode, you also can submit topics for us to discuss, and also submit minis for us to give feedback on. So one of those such patrons is Zach Parenti, and he is submitting a lovely Space Marine with a green glow on the bottom. This is one of the stealthy Space Marines. What are they called? What's the name of these guys?
Are they Reavers?
Reaver does sound right. Yeah, that does sound right.
It's probably wrong.
So he's an Ultramarine. He's got 2 daggers. Who needs guns in the far future? I mean, he has one, but
he's got one, because he's a Space Marine. But he's like, fuck that.
Yeah, fuck that. And a lovely green OSL effect.
Yes. Immediately, the very first thing that jumps out at me that I think you did really, really well here is just the saturation. You started it with the blue. The blue is very saturated and vibrant, while without overwhelming the rest of the piece. And color throughout the piece in general is celebrated. It feels like color is like you're looking at color as something that you want to lean into in this piece to really bring it to life and really catch the eye. And you've absolutely done that. And that nice jump between his top left being that blue of the armor being the focal point, and the bottom right being this nastiness of green. You didn't shy your way into it. You didn't tiptoe. You just went full ball sack, as it were, on color. And that's what I appreciate about you.
Yeah, I think the NMM is great. Looking at this front shot, looking at that silver gun barrel, you get a little bit of green on the underside, super bright light on top, and a dark stripe right in the middle where that exhaust port is. And then the NMM on the grenades on his chest, also done very well. I would say the one thing I might have some feedback on is on his right leg, the one that's closest to the OSL effect. I can see some chalkiness. I can see maybe a little bit of texture, but I don't think it's physical texture. I think it's just not full opacity that sometimes comes from using matte paints. So like if you're glazing on a bunch of light green color that's matte, like you're going to get some chalkiness if you're not like reaching a certain level of smoothness and opacity with that glaze. One thing that I do sometimes when I'm glazing with matte colors, just because this can happen with lighter colors especially, is to use some kind of glaze medium. It gives you extra working time, and so you can deal with tide marks more easily, and also it just smooths it out a little bit more. So you get a nice little double whammy effect there. I don't do that very often, but yeah, when I'm trying to glaze lighter colors and I'm feeling extra, I'm not lazy, I'll bust out some kind of painting medium, glazing medium. I think I have something called Yosonia glazing medium that I like to use.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Two little things that I have on this. Again, this is really, really well done.
Yeah.
So nitpicking here. The first thing I would do is I'd have a little bit more definition just in general across the entire model. It's not every surface, but look at every surface again and make sure that you have the definitions of edges and shapes consistent across the model. Some places it's well done, but other places like across the backpack, there's a lot of edge highlighting and crispness that could be added there just to help really define each surface on this model. It's kind of the last steps you want to take because this looks like a competition piece, and you absolutely should enter this in competitions. It is very much worthy. The other thing is when you're dealing with a strong secondary light source like this green, you need to start looking for termination shadows, and that is where your main light source and your secondary light source meet. There is a dark point before you transition from one to the other. So green, and then the true color of the surface, it should get dark there. A good example of this is actually on that right knee pad. It goes from green up to white, and it actually needs to get darker before it goes to the white.
Yeah.
So there are small things like that like you could look at that across all of this model and find where it needs to get darker before that other light is kind of doing its influences. So it's a high level thing, but I think that is where you're at with your painting, where that's something you should look at. Another thing is distance from the light source is not always consistent here for how vibrant it is. When I look at his left arm that's pointed out with a dagger, the edge highlights that are green on the downward facing angles are as bright green as the edge highlights right next to the light source. And they wouldn't be that green. They're quite far away comparatively. They are facing that angle, so you're right that they should be there. But that green should be very subtle, like a bit of that green mixed into that blue that you use to edge highlight. Little things.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I have some feedback and also some more compliments. Sometimes when you paint a model, you don't obey light physics and you're just doing it for the art of it. And I think an example of that on this model, which is a great example that I want people who struggle to understand that to look at, is this backpack. Like he has this spot at the very bottom of the backpack that is just brighter. And having painted my fair share of Space Marines, I know that part of the backpack is just flat. It's uniformly pointing straight at the camera right now. But that'd be lame to paint all one color. And so he has this dark part in the middle, and then it goes like it's almost like the bottom part of the backpack is flaring out, which it doesn't do that, but he did that to make it interesting and make it different, have a transition across that part of the model. And I think that is a great use of that. The gold trim NMM has a consistently bright white edge highlight around the entire thing. And I want to see you diversify your edge highlights. And yeah, have like I would start with a darker yellow edge highlight. Use ice yellow highlight kind of sparingly. And then in the brightest spots, like where the bands of highlight are brightest, I would add little tiny dots of white edge highlight in those areas only, and in corners and nowhere else. I want to see a little bit of diversity. Again, very nitpicky feedback, but John is correct. You are at the point where this is the kind of feedback you're going to be getting.
Yep. Great job. Beautiful mini. I love looking at it. I love going back and forth and looking at all the different pictures again. You should be very proud. This is really, really good.
Yeah.
Second round of the TUP Partners. We love them. They love us. Monument Hobbies. You know them. You love them. I want to take a second and talk about the Monument Hobbies spray primer. I've been using that lately. They actually built a collaboration with Colorforge out of the UK, and I love the Colorforge primers, and I was so happy to hear that Monument Hobbies is bringing them over and having some specific colors within the Monument Hobbies range, so you get some color primers. Check those out if you haven't yet.
Next on our list is Iwata. John and I both love Iwata, their airbrushes. It's been my daily driver airbrush for the last, 8-9 years. And Iwata, I don't know if they sponsor a lot of YouTube content, so this is really special. So I actually had an hour-long conversation with the marketing person, and it was such an amazing conversation. It made me feel so good to be a fan of the brand. That the people at the company are just so legit and care so much about like the craft of airbrushing. So the product, not even withstanding, I love it. I use it. I've used it for years, but the people there are also equally awesome. So Iwata, it's built for artists, trusted by masters, precision tools, no matter your path. Check it out no matter what you're doing, whether it's t-shirts, whether it's minis, probably minis considering the podcast. They're awesome airbrushes. Can't recommend them enough.
Next up is Game Envy. We already talked about them. Scott and I love Game Envy. Their wet palette. In my video that just launched today, it'll be launched in the past when you get here, are, what do they call them? He's got a special name for them, but it's the little copper corner holders for your wet palette. I love those. They also make amazing lights, model holders. They got a bunch of fun little stuff. They got brushes. It seems like they find whatever they feel is the passion they have passion for in the hobby, and they try to give you a good product at a reasonable price, and we love them.
Yeah, absolutely. And last on our list is Cobalt Keep. I just used Cobalt Keep with my little toga volleyball people, so we could transport the minis to and from the store, and also having recently just like transported all my minis from one place to another, which is something that no one really ever expects to do. Let me tell you, having the majority of all of my gaming models with magnets in the bases made traveling with them so much easier. I don't have to use poster tack on every single one and then take them all off. So yeah, it's a good idea just to have magnets in the bases, and Cobalt Keep has some of the greatest like little magnet well bases that you can find, along with a bunch of other accessories that work with those magnets, like a holder, like a little display case that you can use for travel and display. It's a great brand for magnet accessories and also those great bases.
Man, nailed it. Scott, let us jump right into the main topic of today. And what I thought would be a fun thing for us to talk about is judging and being judged. Are you a judger, Scott?
Absolutely, dude. I'm the best.
Do you fucking judge people every time you meet a new person? You just judge you, meet Judgerson?
Absolutely. I kind of feel like it's a little unavoidable to do some level of judging. Maybe, I don't know.
Right.
I don't want to say that.
Let's talk about our minis. Let's let's turn this off to the side.
Anyways.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about what I kind of came to, I had an epiphany at Nova Open, because I'll talk a little bit about my judging experience, because I judged the Journeyman group at Nova this year, and I kind of came to this realization that whether you're competing in miniature painting or you're just painting for yourself and trying to get better or just having fun while you do it, the kinds of things that we do to grow, that coming from another's perspective, are not that much different than what you get from a judge, right?
Okay.
So what I mean by that is, if you share a picture of your model on Instagram and you say, oh, I'm open for feedback, or I'm open for your thoughts, or you show it to a friend or to another painter that you respect, the kinds of things that they're going to look at, the kinds of things, just like our mini painting critique, like we just did with Zach Parenti, those kinds of feedback and those kinds of things that they're looking for and those kinds of things that they share with you are not that different than what a judge is doing when they're determining your placement in a competition. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Right. And so I'm going to give an example of what we did there at Nova. And Sam and I partnered up for some of the categories. Dave Taylor and I partnered up for some of the other categories. There was also in Journeyman, because there were so many pieces, we had 2 teams of 2. The other team was Steve Garcia and Riccardo Angostini. And so we had a lot of models to judge. And for single figure small scale, so that is up to 54 millimeter, I believe, there was close to 200 models that we had to judge. And maybe this is a good time to just kind of touch on what kind of competition Nova is, and then we can dig into the differences later. It's an open painting competition. And that means that of these 200 works of art, if 15 of them are worthy of a gold, then all 15 win a gold. So you're basically competing on a bar against yourself, right? So
Yes.
here is the bar of what is silver, what is gold, what is bronze. Now, the tricky thing with that is that you are competing against yourself, but you're also kind of competing on a curve, because what is categorized as gold then kind of sets the standard for gold.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And then if somebody like blows it out of the ballpark, you've raised the bar. You don't need to be as good as that person to still be worthy of a gold, but you can't be 12 rungs below. Does that make sense? And do you agree with that?
So it's interesting, and I have a question about that. I don't know how
Yeah.
to answer your question immediately, but so like while you are analyzing these 200 single fig entries, that's just one category for Journeyman, which you were responsible for all of Journeyman, right? Am I right? Right in saying that?
The teams were so roughly half. We split them up. Yes.
Okay. So let's say you find like model number 69. Nice.
Nice.
And it's like, okay, this is the gold standard. And then like you get to like model number 157, and that one is even better. Do you like go back and like rethink the previous entries that you had already determined?
Yes.
Oh my God, dude.
I can tell you for this category is a good specific example here, is that with 200 models, and they're all laid out on a giant table at the same time. I want to be able to look at, pick up, cross-reference multiple times. On average, I picked up every single one of those models and gave it a thorough look 4 times. Okay. And I think that is what you should expect. Not that you do have to judge the way I judge. I think that is a good expectation, is that it is no single pass that will make up my mind permanently. I need to take in more information. I need to make sure I didn't miss something. I want to see, was I influenced by something else that I looked at right before it or right after it? Did I already put it in a category and now I've gathered more data and now look at it again, maybe under a tighter eye, maybe to appreciate it more. Maybe I was, I have to give myself room to constantly move things. So what I would do is we would go through a category and we would pick out the what you would call as undeniable. This is undeniably gold, right? And usually that was 2 to 3 models.
Really?
Sometimes only 1, right? In a glance, and under good lighting, looking at everything with the slow, like looking across, certain things jump out to you, and you then look at them at 6 inches away, and does that message still sell that this is undeniable?
Okay.
Then those would go to the right, and basically that's how we'd start putting things in piles: gold, silver, bronze, finalist, nothing. And we'd put everything in those piles, have these nice columns of each of those categories. And then what I would do is I'd go back a second time and I would take models from each of those categories and I'd put them in this in-between zone where I'd be like, I have this one in silver after first go through. Does it feel like it's on the edge of silver? By that, is it close? Could it be silver or gold? Could it be silver or bronze? Or is it thoroughly, this is a solid silver, it doesn't belong in a conversation for one of the others? Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And another question I have about the process is, Did you ever find a model that you were like, this is not journeyman, this is a master, and you took it out of the category?
I didn't purposefully, but I brought. And also, it's good that none of this is done in a silo. It's all about conversations with another judge. Mm-hmm. We had conversations.
Okay.
And absolutely, that was bad. I didn't have any that were that way, and the reason why is that I would rather you get a gold in journeyman than move up to masters and get a finalist pick.
And get shafted. Yeah. Okay, so another question then about that. So you're going through and you're determining, gold, silver, bronze, and in-betweenies. And you're doing that just as an individual. Does someone then come through and then comb through them and move them around? Or are you doing all of it together? Some of it's done, in private individually in your head, and some of it's done collaboratively. So where do you start the collaboration and where do you just do solo stuff?
Right. By and large, the first pass is all collaborative.
Okay.
And we find that where we were differed, we're like, ooh, I'm feeling silver, you're feeling bronze. Okay, we're not too far apart. We put it in the tweener zone, and then we come back to it. Because the more we're gathering information and data and figuring things out, the more likely we are when we come back on our second pass or third pass or fourth pass of that model, we will find where it belongs. But it is good to have differing opinions and differing thoughts. And that's when the conversations would happen. Why do I think it's silver? Here's the parts. Why do you think it's bronze? Here's your points. And then we can talk through those together and figure out where, based on both of those being a reality, where we feel it lives. So
okay,
I think that typically what I would do was the first step was very collaborative. The second and third step was we still did some of that, but it was more kind of in our own heads, just rejockeying positions, looking and looking and looking. It was more data gathering and making slight tweaks. And then at the end, it was then full collaboration, lots of discussion for that fourth pass for final decision making.
Okay.
So that's how, and this is, it kind of is organic in who you judge with, who is your partner, or if you're doing it alone. It changes based on your personalities, based on how you communicate, based on how you look at and what you look at. But that feels like, for me in my experience in judging, is the way that I feel like I'm making sure that every contestant gets enough of my time, gets a second and third glance, that I don't miss anything,
right, and
that I have another different perspective. We're always working together for that. So
okay, and I'm on the Nova Open site as you're describing this, because what I'm looking for, if it exists, I didn't know if it existed, was some kind of description. You don't need a rubric that just defines, okay, for a beginner, we're looking for this, for whatever, so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. Because even Crystal Brush had a very loose this is how we evaluate models. We think these things are valuable, whatever smoothness, whatever the fuck they might say. But I'm not seeing any of that on the Nova Open site. I see a competition info, a primer, and an FAQ, and none of them have, at least in my brief glance through, it kind of seems more as rules and where to pick stuff up and things like that. There's nothing about here's how we define what a good model paint job is. And so I'm curious, did you guys have any steps where you're trying to define that? Because obviously, when I judged a competition, there's two things you want to do. Everyone brings in their individual expertise, and that's why you have a panel of people, right? So you get a good average of the results. But also, each competition is kind of looking for different things sometimes. Obviously Golden Demon has its thing it's looking for and how it defines what good paint jobs are. And Nova has a kind of a different vibe. And I'm just curious, is there anything in writing that describes that vibe, what they're looking for in general, or no?
I was not given anything in writing. However, there is before the official judging begins, where there's a kind of little get together, and that is like vaguely defined. But then it's more important, I think, that we start with a clear conversation within the judges of your group of let's have a universal understanding of what we're looking for. And what we came to with Journeyman was strong technical execution was kind of our main pillar, because you can get into extravagance and storytelling and subtleties and really masterful things in the master category. And in fact, like that's judged higher because the expectation is that your technical execution is also there. So they still judge that in masters. That's still important, but it's like a foundation. It's the bar you need to reach.
Yeah. Here,
it's how far are you on your journey of understanding technical execution and understanding light, volumes, and color. And that was my main criteria, and that's what we really focused on. The more you could get into the things, the subtleties, the storytelling, all that kind of stuff, whether it's diorama or single figure, the more we feel like you're ready for masters. And typically those would then be placed into gold, because it is, if you place gold, the expectation is next year you move up. So if someone got a gold in Journeyman this year, the expectation is that they then compete in masters moving forward. So the question we'd often ask ourselves, and we would say it out loud, and this really helped me to determine whether something was gold or silver, was, are they ready for masters next year?
Okay.
Or are we throwing them in the deep end and they're not quite there yet? And that's a really good, so it's tougher for somebody like that's judging masters, because like you don't have that point in the sand, right, to determine what is gold versus silver. There's some wishy-washiness there. But for us, it was like, am I confident you can compete? I'm not saying medal. I'm saying compete. That you feel like you belong in that case. And that really is very, very helpful. But yes, I was looking for, did you understand texture? Did you understand layering? Did you understand smoothness? Did you understand highlights? Did you understand color contrast? Did you paint with contrast? That's a big thing.
Yeah.
Well, Vince, when he was doing I'm forgetting what it's called again. The beginner's one, which is,
I think it's just Apprentice, right?
Apprentice, right?
Yeah.
Whether you're judging Apprentice, whether you're judging Journeyman, and even Masters, when we talked about my bust, the biggest thing was, do you push contrast? And that was the thing that I needed more work on mine, is I needed more strong contrast in the shadows. When Ben Cantor showed me my picture of my whip of my bust in a black and white scale, it wasn't dramatic enough. There wasn't enough darks. And so is that there? That was what I'm really looking for. Do I feel like your brush control is there? Do I feel like the style that you chose, I am not going to judge anyone's choice of style. They can paint in whatever style they want, but did they execute on that style to a level worthy of a medal, and at which point in that medal, whether that's Games Workshop style, whether that's very, John Margiotta style, where it's dirty and scratches and wild and just all over the place. Whatever you chose to do, very painterly style, right? Even comic book style, judge models that are that. How well did you execute on that style?
Yeah.
That's Journeyman for me.
Which always comes down, for me, the way I always define what makes good model painting, and even GW says they do the same thing in Golden Demon, is it's intentionality. It's can I tell what you're trying to do? Number one, does it not seem like a mistake? Because that's the worst thing, when it's right. someone's gives you feedback, and then they come back with the oh, I was trying to do that, and I was and then I'm like, well, you fucked up, and so intentionality. Can someone try or tell what you're trying to do? And then furthermore, did you do it well? It's such a hard thing to describe, but I think that's the best way to judge miniature painting, because it's divorced from any one specific style being better than another, which is the thing you're always trying to deal with when judging art, which is not very quantifiable. Okay.
Yeah. And so, I felt like there can be a good bullet pointed elevator pitch version of what we're looking for that probably should exist. I know Gen Con is is the flip side, where it's very, very specific in their rules. That said, that does not equate to more reliable outcomes.
No, it doesn't. Because I feel like sometimes, I don't know if this is true, 'cause I'm not in the inner circle of painting judges. It's not something I do a ton. But I feel like painting judges come to the show with their own kind of baggage, and they lean way more heavily on that than they do anything that someone else is going to define for them.
Yes.
Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I have no idea. That's my outsider perspective looking in.
Yeah, you can't help but like pull on your personal experience and your journey and all that, and doing your best to stay as impartial as you can. And you can't be 100% impartial, because then you would pull yourself out of it, and then you pull a lot of the value you bring to it.
Yep.
You know, you're just trying to keep, as much as you consciously can, you know, your own, you know, takes on things, and try to pull some of that out of there. But we have unconscious bias too, and that's the tough part. And that's why there will always be drama in a subjective thing that is competitive, like miniature painting, because you can't divorce that entirely, and someone's opinion could change from someone else's, because we don't have a number system where it's like, well, you got a 92 here and a 78 here, and all the numbers line up, and the way the numbers were brought down were all judged by an algorithm that is consistent across every basis. It's not done that way. So you can't always agree, or you can't always feel like things were consistent, even if, in the minds of the judges and all the effort and time they put in, even if they did their best to make it as consistent as possible. Yeah. And that was a thing, because that I went through this in that one category that I'm telling you about, just the single figures. Just that one category took 4 hours.
Yeah. Okay. I have two comments about this. One, if I could write a thesis, if I ever went to college for a PhD and I could write a thesis, it would be on how to quantify the quality of miniature painting. Like I don't know why, but I am obsessed with doing the thing that you said is impossible. It's like just like coming up with an algorithmic way to define what's good and what's bad. My brain just wants to do that. I don't know why it does. It's not healthy. And the other thing about what you said about that number of entries, I'm curious on the breakdown. Obviously, the majority of them are going to be probably bronze and silver, but I'm just curious, out of the 200, how many of them were gold, and how many were silver, and how many were bronze, approximately?
Yeah, I will say that single category gave away the most models in any single category in the history of Nova.
For golds?
So, for all medals.
Oh,
for all
okay.
medals. So across the board, total medals. I believe it... a lot of the judging stuff is blurred together in my brain of sweaty over analyzing everything for hours and hours and hours.
God damn, get me in there, dude. I love that shit.
I believe it was 8 golds.
8 golds. Okay. Yeah. So, viewer, I want you to set some expectations. While this is an open painting competition of 200 entries in one category of journeyman, okay? 200. 8 people got golds. Wow, that's harsh.
It's
it
about
should be
2, 4, 6, 8%. 8% of the people. But there was quite a bit more. Is it?
Right, because 8 out of 100 would be 8%, and then out of 200 before. Yeah, so very low, very low.
Yeah, very low. Roughly, I would say roughly over double that for gold, or excuse me, for silver. It was roughly less than 20, mid to high teens for silver, and just over 20, 22, 24, if I remember right, for bronze.
So 24, and then plus whatever, 15, but you have 40. So between 40 and 50 awards given out of 200 people, 8 gold. Wow. Okay. Yeah. I love it. Yeah, it was rough. Again, it came back down to, and here's the thing, an interesting thing is we maybe transition this into our open competition versus traditional competition discussion. In an open competition, you're worthy of the bar is set on that. If there are 12 golds, then you give out 12 gold medals. But versus a traditional competition where there's a first, second, third, it's like the Olympics, right? There's only 3 medals that are given out, no matter how good you are. If you didn't long jump, farther than the other people, too goddamn bad. Also, they do that in very wishy-washy competitions. Like,
ice skating dance routines.
Yep.
Yes, there's technical aspects of that, just like there is in miniature painting. Like ice dancing is a great example where it's not about like technical jumps, right? Because did you do the quad lutz or whatever, and did you land it? In ice dancing, it's not jumps. So it's even more open for interpretation and artistry and storytelling and form, right? Much like miniature painting, yet they only give 3 medals for that. So there is an interesting standard, even in things that we look to in competition that are closer to miniature painting than you might guess.
Yeah.
But there, I kind of think, you're under more scrutiny if you only can give out 3 medals, because there's a lot of nitpicking and your own bias in those final 3 spots if there's a large enough sample size. If the pool is big, it gets so hard to not just be like, you just have to go with what you feel at some point.
Yeah.
And not everyone's going to feel the same as you feel. But if I know all 7 of these are amazing, I don't have to take these 7 that are worthy of gold at Nova and turn it into first, second, third, nothing in a competition like Golden Demon.
Yeah.
When all 7 are worthy of gold. And that sucks. That sucks.
Right. The way the Olympics get around that is by having these long qualifying events where, like, if you're ever wondering why a certain country isn't represented in a certain event, it's because they didn't make the cut. Like, their competitors were not good enough for the Olympics. So there are a bunch of people at an event at the Olympics. But when you compare it to Nova Open, where it's like, dude, you could, like, you're not turning anyone away, right? Anyone could come with literally anything, and it would be in the case, right?
Yeah. And I think that really, exemplifies like the celebration of the art, right? It's just like if you want to put it in there, we want to showcase it. We want people to see it. We want to get you feedback and that kind of stuff. And that's big. So one thing that my eyes have been more open to, I kind of had an aha moment with the open system, having judged it at the highest level I've ever judged before. I've done a fair bit of judging on small to mid-sized competitions before. This is the biggest show that I've ever judged at. Was that I thought, I kind of went into this, ignorantly, that gold, silver, and bronze are established, and if you meet that criteria, then that is the criteria. What I did not take into consideration was the fact that the bar for miniature painting and the quality of miniature painting goes up every single year. So 2 years ago, what could have got you a gold could get you nothing this year. And so it's not like it's not a bullseye that you shoot an arrow at and that bullseye is always there. That bullseye is moving and going up each and every year. So gold this year is not the gold standard for all time. It is establishing the gold standard based on the quality of the competition this year. Mm-hmm. So I was like thrown for a loop for that a little bit, because I would just be like, well, gold is a gold, right? No, gold, Nova Open, late August 2025 has its own established gold, silver, and bronze.
Yeah, yeah.
Which only makes sense, because if we were going by a universal, marker, from 2019, almost everything in this case would have gotten a gold, because it's grown so much. The good thing is we have access to grow, and the rate at which miniature painters are growing is so much faster than ever before. It's amazing, because the quality of art out there is amazing. And so it feels really, really cool, and it feels really, really good. And I just want people to, one thing I really want to do, especially in the beginners category, I forget it again, is that you want that experience to be a really positive experience, because we want you to come back. We want you to compete for whatever reason drives you to compete. And so that's pretty cool. I will tell you that category of single figure, where we had 200 contestants, Joanna was the name of the woman that won best in category. So there's a best in category for every category at every level, meaning of all the golds, you pick the one that is the best of the golds.
Mm-hmm.
And she won best in category. She had never entered a miniature painting competition.
I'm actually looking at the model right now.
And
it's
the
lovely.
picture is rough. It is gorgeous.
Yeah, it's a lovely model.
It is glorious. The way she painted the mouse's eyes. She has a background in 2D painting and art. So she's a bit of a ringer for never ever entered a miniature painting competition. But it just made me so happy. And there's areas for feedback for her to improve on, even in gold in that. But like, she is worthy of competing in Masters, and she was just like, she almost fainted at awards because she was so like, did not see it coming at all. That she, one, even got a gold, and two, that we called her name for that. And,
I love that.
But yeah, there's just amazing stories, and of people that just like, they got a finalist pin or asking for feedback. And I spent a lot of time over the weekend, and that's really important that you give feedback. I really loved giving feedback to people that I knew I wasn't judging that area. But I didn't want to, give too much before I judge, especially when people would come up to me before they submitted pieces, students in my class or followers of the channel, whatever, and just wanted feedback. And, I try to give that when I can. But I'd always ask them, what level are you competing in? Because I don't want to give you too much if I'm going to be your judge when you have time to go fix that before you put it in the case. Like I felt, I don't want to do that, but if I'm going to be the judge, I want to give you like a leg up. So it's like people are gaming the system and finding who their judges are and asking for feedback on day one of the con, and then spending 2 days to do that stuff. So then they get a leg up on that. I don't think people would actually do that, but I don't want that to be a thing, right?
Yeah. It's hard because you also mentioned this thing where, like, one of the other judges of the show has patrons who are in the event. And it's like, maybe those patrons got feedback from him before the show. And it's like, it's also, as a judge, even if you're saying you're not biased, it's like, it's hard to totally know for sure that you're not being biased. So like, that situation combined with what you just described of giving early feedback at the show, and someone might go and then apply that feedback, it's so difficult. It's like, are you supposed to take your judges and keep them in like a little glass bubble like for the entire show? And then, and then how do you make sure that they don't know the models going in and stuff like that? That is a problem that I think is a problem, but like, I don't know how you solve it. You just need people that, have a lot of integrity and like, do the best they can to stay as impartial as possible. But that's not a real solution,
Yeah, unfortunately. And there will always be drama, is that kind of thing, just gives people pause how much truth or reality is behind it. Simply the situation is there. So you can interpret that however you choose to interpret it. I try to interpret it with everyone has good intentions, and people are here for the betterment of the art and not for this, that, or the other. But yeah, if, for example, if I don't have this tier in my Patreon, but a lot of people do, they have a one-on-one feedback and coaching tier. And if I'm a judge at an event, and Sky, you're my patron, and we do 1 hour a month for 6 months leading up to this for a piece you're entering that I'm judging, the feedback that I'm going to give you is the things I'm looking for when I judge. There's nothing wrong with that, because I'm just giving you the feedback to get better, because that's what I want it to be to get a higher medal. Naturally, if you execute on that, you should score better if I'm the one that's looking at it, right? Because that's just kind of the nature of the beast. Even if a different judge would look for different things or weight different things differently, and so it's kind of the nature of the beast, right?
Yeah,
and
especially in a show where like there is not a standard that is defined. The judges bring the standard, and it's like, if you're giving feedback to a person, you are setting the standard for them on what is good, and you are also setting the standard for the show at the same time. So it's like, it's weird. Yeah. But
it's also one final thing on this.
Okay.
That person is paying you money to do that one-on-one coaching.
That
you are getting
icky.
paid. That's where it gets I'm not accusing anybody. I think everyone that was judging there is reputable and they have good sense of morals. I don't do that. But I'll just say, I mean, that's not the only reason why I don't do a paid tier for one-on-one feedback for my patron, and I don't believe you do anymore, Scott, either.
I have a thing called the Sepulchral Guard where me and a group of people meet. They're actually doing it tomorrow. And we have a theme. We follow the theme and we paint it and we give feedback as a group. So I am doing it for basically everybody, but not coaching, not individual coaching.
Yeah, it feels like the rising the tide for everyone in that group.
Yeah.
Right.
Trying to. Yeah. That's the idea. Yeah.
Right. Cool. But yeah, it gets a little sloppy there. You're opening the door to drama when maybe there is no drama to be had, but the door is open there. So,
yeah. But you mentioned Joanna Valenzuela. She had an entry called The Traveler, won best in category for Journeyman Single Model. And I want to just briefly shout out because I'm so proud of my boy, Evan Paulikowski, who painted the Ranger in Journeyman Single Model, large, so not small, the large scale ones. And he got best in show in that category. It's a beautiful paint job. He painted it a little bit like my box art, but I can see all the areas where he diverged, and he made some great choices with colors. And even though the picture is a little overexposed, I can tell it's really, really nicely painted. So good job, Evan.
That is a category that my duo did not judge, so I did not give him any bonus TUP points, although I probably would have, but I didn't. But I saw that in person. I held it in hand outside the case and looking at it, and it stood out to me. It was well painted. A really good showcase of a true wood elf. So great job on that one, Evan, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I'm curious, now that you've gone through the gauntlet of judging at Nova Open, what are your thoughts on some ways they can improve their process for the painters, for the judges, maybe for the attendees, like better cases, better lighting, like whatever it may be? What are some thoughts?
First and foremost, and this falls into the good problem to have, they have not nearly enough cases. Most models were 3 deep in the shelves.
Yeah.
And there's no steps on them. So at the bare minimum, get those clear acrylic steps.
Yeah.
So you can have the shorter models in the back so they're not so far to the ceiling, whatever. Like my bust was 3 deep. You couldn't even see it in the case. And there's no, like, the lighting was bad, but lighting are always bad in these, Lighting the Golden Demon cases are better than the lighting here because here they don't have a light running on the underside of every shelf. So it lights up consistently throughout. It's basically just a big border of the entire case. So there are some real dead spots and stuff like that. It's that technical stuff. Again, they've grown in the amount of cases that they've had, and the amount of pieces have grown in an exponential rate compared to their ability to showcase them. So it's a growing pains thing. Again, it's a good problem to have thing. But it did make walking around the cases. I really did not, for a lot of pieces, I did not have a lot of confidence of which ones were well painted and which weren't, looking at them in the cases. Obviously, and this is a good note for any competitor, that is not the environment that we scrutinized your piece in when we looked at them.
Yeah,
so
that's good to know.
That's good to know. But yeah, that was one thing. One thing that they did this year that was a big help, was a change for this year, was starting the judging earlier. So the cutoff for pieces to be turned in was noon on Saturday. The last ones that kind of shuffled in right at noon, they got the pictures taken, and then we immediately could start judging. And what that means is that typically it started like around dinner time or after dinner time, and like you've already had a long day. You can push yourself to get things done and decision make faster if it's 2 a.m. and you've got to get this done and you've got to get some sleep. And it allowed judging to be like, okay, you could judge earlier, you could take a break, you could get a meal, you could come back to it, you can shoot the shit, you can just stretch your legs and come back. So the earlier you can start, the more I felt that we could do it at our pace and make sure the decision making was correct, not under the gun of time. So that was a couple of big things. I do think a help in giving a baseline for each category of like, one, to help you decide where you should submit, right? I could be a new painter, but like Joanna, her very first competition, she did not go into beginners. She went into journeyman. And so to help people self-assess for themselves, as well as what are the key factors that we look for in this category versus this category. If nothing else, to differentiate those key bullet points that separate the categories, but also showing what's going to hold more weight here versus what holds more weight here.
Yeah, and there is, so when I briefly looked at the documentation, there is some of that, but it's like hidden on a website and stuff like that. And I bet it'd be better if it was just like more visible, like if it was like somewhere at the show on a sign or something like that, so people understand like what, you know, how do these categories really break down. Do you think it'd be helpful if there were more judges?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, no, I mean, maybe. Too many cooks is a thing, right? Like you want people with a diverse background, but I think actually working in pairs for any given category is really good because you get to bounce off each other while continuing to move, while having more airtime for your own voice to be heard. The more judges you have, the less time each of you gets to have input. But when working with pairs, like where we had 4 judges and journeymen, so we could split up the categories and have those groups come back over when you needed help. Okay. So we did that a couple times. We were like, look, here's our gold. We're kind of crossed between gold and silver on this one. We can't quite get there. We want your third impartial opinion, right? So you can pull in other judges. We pulled in judges from different groups too. We pulled in Masters judge. We pulled in Vince, as well, and he didn't judge journeyman. Like having more bodies back there. Again, it's a space issue. We were cramped and we couldn't physically judge. All the teams couldn't judge at the same time because there wasn't enough space. When I said that this competition or this convention is growing too big, the 2 areas where it's grown too big that are most visible are the Capital Palette and the vendor areas. They're not big enough. They could probably have twice as many vendors. They just don't have the space for them. I know they could have twice as many, and they'd immediately sell those spots, and they'd immediately have more money for the charities and all that. But they just don't have the space. Okay. And they're kind of cramped to as much space for the Capital Palette as they can. I would love it to. It could easily, be twice as much space. But yeah, those are kind of my big things. I really like. They're so well supported as a judge. I felt super well supported as a judge. Like, is there anything you need? What can I get you? Oh, I'll go get more lights, right? People physically running. The people that are the support system for Nova are visible in all areas of that con and welcoming and will get you, whether you're a con goer, a teacher, a judge, a vendor, whatever. Like they are just like a hive of bees of helpers. And it was amazing there. So yeah, there was a lot of really, really cool things. Also, it's a good time for me to shout this out. I did not know I was going to get anything for judging. I did not expect anything for judging, but they gave one of these for each of the judges for Nova. I will share it for our audio listeners. This is a Artist Opus fancy ass brush case that says it's got a black wooden cover that says Nova Judge in orange, and then inside you get your fancy Artist Opus paintbrushes, and then it's carved on the inside that says Nova Open Capital Palette as well. So that was a very, very nice of them. I did not expect that, and I was very they're very well supported, and I appreciate that. So that was really cool.
That's cool. That's very cool. All right, so
that's how they got that was the lead in for their ask to judge next year. I saw what they were doing.
Okay. They're enticing you for next time.
Yes.
So that's a great question. Would you do it again?
Absolutely. I said I would.
Okay.
I was so goddamn drained, but I felt so happy to have been part of it, and I felt like I felt like I did everything in my power to give everyone as much of my time as I could to really showcase there. And I walked away drained and so happy. Like I got to spend time with thousands and thousands of hours of creative work time. It was just so cool. I felt so fortunate to be able to hold, appreciate, and look at these models. And oftentimes that's why I held them 4 times, because of the 4 times, one of them I inevitably was just like, my brain was just turned off and I just smiled. So I was just like, crap, I better look at that one again. Yeah. How good was the specular highlights here?
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that you had a good time. We want to kind of close out this conversation by talking about asking the question, hypothetically, should you compete? And kind of our advice for, setting expectations, which we kind of already went over a little bit in terms of there were 200 entries and only 8 of them won gold. But obviously I'll let John speak for himself, but I feel like you should absolutely compete if you want to compete. I feel like one thing that's wonderful about we'll put anything in the case and you can compete no matter what, there are no qualifying events, is that it really sets the stage for what is welcome, and it's everything is welcome. A lot of people have this issue of am I worthy? Am I worthy to put my thing in the case? And that is not even a question at Nova. It's just a yes. And so should you compete? If you want to compete, you should. That is really the only question that you should ask yourself. There is no worth determination that really needs to go on. In determining if you want to compete, there are some things that you get from competing. One of those things being feedback, improving your painting. So if you're at all caring about that, then if you want that, you should absolutely compete to get some great feedback from judges, to get the experience, and also just to have your stuff next to other paint jobs. It's difficult while you're alone trying to set a standard for what is good, because all you can really see is what's online and also what you paint. But when you see that physical model that someone else painted, who's also trying just as hard like you are, you really get this sense of where you stack up in the heap. And then where you lack and what you can work on. So there really isn't anything that can replace that about competitions, that side-by-side physical comparison.
Yeah, that is absolutely it. There's a couple things I want to share on this. And a lot of this is from real conversations with people that I've had both at Golden Demon the last couple of years as well as Nova the last couple of times I went. And that is people, when they entered something for the very first time into a competition, they realized how just that act of doing so kickstarted them, inspired them, walked away from it feeling like they want to do more. You look at other pieces in the case with a different set of glasses on because you have something in there too. You look at what somebody else did so well because you went through the same process of getting something in the case. You push yourself a little harder. You'll always push yourself a little harder if you know this is something I'm going to put in a competition. And it's not about it being versus somebody else, whether it's Golden Demon where it's very cutthroat or Nova where it's very celebratory and very community gathering rather than differentiating. That you feel like that is something that you took advantage of. And so I always encourage people, it is not about whether you think you're worthy or not. You are, because you were saying, I'm going to paint something and I'm going to put it in there and I'm going to learn from that. And just about every time, people are excited for the next one. Right. And it gets you a different level of connection to this hobby and your connection with your own creative journey. And it's not about being a competitive person. It's just about celebration and about allowing others to see the awesome work that you do. So I strongly encourage everyone, whether you think this is your jam or not, try it one time, especially when you do it in an open competition, because again, the vibe, the mood around those cases is so much more positive and celebratory and exciting and showcasing each other's work than it is about beating somebody else. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. You can find some info about Nova. We'll link it below. I'll link all that info that I found about what the categories are, like an FAQ and a primer and stuff like that, if you want to check it out. Welcome to the end of the podcast. Thank you so much for hanging out all the way until the end. Look at John. He's a crazy guy.
Okay, I got a dog down here.
Got a little Argus down there. Well, he's not little at all. He's quite big, actually.
Not bad, that dog. Not bad, that dog.
If you enjoy the podcast, there are a number of ways that you can support it. You mentioned the Patreon earlier, but if you don't got any cash to spend, that's no problem at all. You can also support the podcast in a number of free ways. One of those ways being just watching it on YouTube, giving us a like, subscribing there, giving us a review wherever you listen to the audio version of the podcast, sharing our podcast with some of your friends you think may like it. Those are all phenomenal ways to support the podcast. If you have some cash and you're not into the monthly subscription thing, we also have some merch over at Teespring, t-shirts, sweatpants, coffee mugs, all an assortment of different TUP designs as well that are actually really cool. They're way too cool for how garbage this podcast is, actually. So check out the shirts. They're shockingly good designs.
Right.
But yeah, those are the ways you can support us.
Right. Also, if you listen to this on a podcast app, just in the background, play the YouTube video. Give us the double dip. Let us get the view over there. Put a comment in the YouTube thing. That kind of thing, too. That helps other nerds find us. And then finally, when you are looking to buy your hobby goodies, check out the TUP Partners. We stand behind them because we use their stuff. So consider supporting them as well. Thanks, everybody, for joining us for another lively virtual episode of the Trapped Under Plastic podcast. We will catch you on the
Flippity flop.